working a job like this and owning a business like this, it's way more of like a part of a culture and part of society than working a day job for a corporation. And it just makes me feel that I'm helping out in some little bit, keeping people from going psycho by providing them with the music that kind of chills them out. Freecloud was started in about 1985 by some record collectors in Edmonton, just to provide like kind of an alternative record store. And at the time, most records were only available through used bookstores and pawn shops, secondhand stores, charity stores. And there was a store called Sound Connection in town, and they were doing really well, but they focused mainly on kind of classic rock. And then it sort of changed a bit, and we decided to deal in all the weird stuff. In 1992, I bought Freecloud from the previous owner. I was the manager here at the time, and decided that I wanted to work for myself, not somebody else, and built it into the glory that it is today. When we first started out, there was super high demand. It was fantastic. They were still making lots of records. We were getting in lots of stuff. Rhino Records out of the States was doing tons of reissues, and it was a great era. And then the major labels tried to kill everything, which sucked. But at the same time, you had a whole ton of like the punk labels, Epitaph, Fat. They kept the vinyl going because the punk rockers and a lot of the underground music and the alt indie bands still wanted to make records, because it was kind of like you started your band, and CDs were easy to make, records were hard to make, and so if you made a record, it made you legitimate. The best thing about the bad times, like if you go to sort of the mid-90s when people were dumping their collections, that actually turned out to be great, because so many collections were coming through here of people who were like, I'm going to sell off my entire record collection because I'm changing over to CDs. So they did, which meant we got great stock, and then there were still enough collectors around to keep it going. Sort of almost there's like a 20-year cycle that you see with just pop culture, and 20 years after something is super popular, it kind of comes back into demand. Record Collector magazine pointed out one time that the record that you buy is actually a point of history. So when Elvis made his first record, he made a record. He didn't make a CD. It's not just an MP3. It's not just a song that's ethereal or something. His record company made that record. You are buying that point in history. And I think that what's turned around is people who are fans of music have really looked at that and said, oh yeah, like if I'm buying a Beatles album and buying an original, I'm buying that point of history. Every now and then you have experiences, you meet people who live in town who you wouldn't normally run into or meet, and that's great. My favorite thing's always just been the whole cast of characters that have come through Freecloud through the years. You get 25 years of everything from crazies to from millionaires to guys living on the street, and every one of them has a story, and it's just great meeting them all. And then every now and then you're finding cool piles of records, or hitting jackpots and going to look at collections and finding some of the craziest, creepiest stories. I've been everywhere from hoarders' apartments, which were just nasty and disgusting, to multi-millionaires' mansions where they're trying to sell me like 20 records because they thought they had a big collection, and it's hilarious. Plus, I think the industry shot itself in the foot with digital, because digital can now be transmitted over any computer, any way. There's all the websites that people can illegally download on, or you can go to iTunes and download stuff like that. So you can obtain digital quality stuff just from online. But to have a record, you actually have to go out of your way to get it. You either have to buy it off the internet, or come to an independent record store, or go and see the band live and buy it off them. So it is putting you into that point in time. And one of the coolest things I remember is when I was a kid, going to the concert, going to the punk rock show or something, and buying the record off the band. And so every time I look at that record, it has a connection. Whereas if you go to see the band and then download it, there's no connection at all. It's just nothing. You know, it's only been the past few years that computers have finally got up to the stage where they can record things and have them sound good. If you listen to old CDs or you listen to MP3s, you can definitely hear a lower level sound quality. It's kind of harsh and abrasive to a lot of people's ears. And when you listen to vinyl, if it's well mastered and well pressed, you know, you get a warm, rich sound. It's way more natural sounding, I guess you could say, than you know, than a digitally recorded thing, especially from the 80s. I mean, what kind of computer did your parents have in 1984 in their basement? Yeah. Well, that's what was being used to remaster most of the LPs back then. You know, your Atari. We actually got a copy of the Beatles' first album, and it came out in the States the summer before they became popular. And so it was done in a really, really limited pressing, and it was done in stereo and mono, and the stereo one was probably done, you know, maybe hundreds of them pressed. And somebody in town here, you know, had been there vacationing and had been in New York in the summer of '63 and had got this record because they were into British music, and it ended up back in Edmonton, and through a roundabout, you know, track ended up coming in here, and I bought it, and it's probably the rarest album that I've ever bought. Or the whole focus of the story is getting the music to the customer. You know, we're not out to make, you know, that final little buck. We're like, you know, it's like I'd rather go through volume on stuff than you know, try and squeeze some, you know, blood out of a stone. Well, pretty much all of our employees that we've had here since day one have been involved in the music scene or the arts scene, and so, you know, guys from all kinds of different bands, like Nick Kozub from Shout Out Out worked here, and you know, every now and then I think back to all the people who've worked here, and you know, where they're working now. And there's guys, all kinds of industries and stuff. Sure, good album. Guys who've worked here have you know, gone on to bands, clubs, you know, touring. Some of them just to you know, regular day jobs, I guess you could say. Back in the day, we used to support a lot of the concerts and, you know, sell tickets and stuff. Most of that stuff's done online now, so it's kind of sad to see that changing. But you know, we've always tried to keep the local product in when it's out. You know, to support the local bands, and other than that, it's just, you know, when people come in and they're looking for music, it's, you know, try and hook them up with it. Yeah. So if somebody comes in here and is looking for, you know, the Falklands or Mad Bomber Society or the Operators, you know, whether it's a current band or a past band, you know, going back to Barry Allen, West Dacus, and the Rebels, you know, those are the Edmonton bands in the '60s. It's our job here to try and make sure that, you know, we can get the music to you. It's been a fun time. Yeah, it's been a totally fun time, and it's great. And like I say, meeting all the characters that shop here is just, you know, one of those experiences where you just get to meet such a great cross section of society and make a lot of friends that way.
How'd you get to be so